I decided to go camping alone that weekend, not because I wanted solitude, but because I needed to prove to myself that quiet didn't scare me. I'd always picked busy campgrounds, family spots, kids laughing, dogs barking, car doors slamming. But this time, I drove past all of those. Past the check-in station, past the map point, deep into the backwoods zone where campfires weren't allowed because it was too easy to get lost, and rescue would be too slow once you did. There, the road gave up and turned into dirt. Then the dirt gave up and turned into nothing at all. I hiked. No trail markers, just trees tall enough to erase the sun. By the time I reached the clearing, the sky had dipped into that pre-evening gray, the kind that warns you darkness isn't coming. It's already here, just waiting to be noticed. I pitched my tent, I boiled water, I sat, and the forest sat with me. No birds, no insects, no branches snapping, just watching. Hour 1. My phone had no signal, not even one bar fighting for breath. Good. I told myself I wanted that. Disconnection. I chewed jerky, sipped filtered stream water, and listened. I thought I'd hear the usual forest soundtrack, but the quiet was so complete that it felt wrong, like something was missing. Then, the first sound came. A whistle. Not a bird call, not air through trees. A human whistle. Clear, sharp, and intentional. 3 notes. Up, down, down. I froze, half-chewed food in my mouth. I waited. 10 seconds. 20. A minute. Nothing. I told myself it was probably a hiker or a hunter or even just wind tricking my ears. I swallowed, ended dinner, and zipped into my tent. Safe. Contained. But thin nylon doesn't really separate you from anything. Not out there. As I lay on my sleeping bag, the whistle came again. 3 notes. Up, down, down. This time, closer. I didn't breathe, didn't move, didn't even blink. I waited for footsteps. Leaves crunching, twigs snapping, shoes breaking the silence. But nothing followed the whistle. Just that same unbearable stillness. When sleep finally came, it was the forced kind. My body giving up before my mind did. Hour 2. I woke to darkness so complete my eyes never adjusted. Not a single star above. Not a single shape of tree against sky. And someone was whispering. Not words, just breath. Right outside the tent. Long, slow, drawn-out exhalations. Like someone leaning right over the thin barrier between me and them. I didn't understand how I'd fallen asleep, how I hadn't heard footsteps approaching. Then I realized there were none. Whatever was out there didn't walk. I raised a shaking hand and pressed my palm against the tent wall. The whispering stopped. Silence again. Only silence. I should have unzipped the tent and shone my light into the clearing. I should have screamed or packed my stuff or run. Instead, I lay there, frozen, listening to my heartbeat slam against my ribs. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Time didn't exist anymore. Eventually, exhaustion dragged me back under. Hour 3. I woke to tapping, not on the tent, on metal, my camping mug, sitting by the fire pit. Tap, 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 slow, rhythmic, deliberate. Something was picking it up, letting it fall, picking it up again. I swallowed and reached for my flashlight. I thumbed it on. Nothing, no beam, no flicker. Dead. I checked the others. The headlamp, backup mini light. Dead. Dead. My batteries had been full when I arrived. I unzipped the tent an inch, just enough to peek out. Tap, tap, tap. The sound echoed across the clearing, but there was no shape, no figure, no outline doing it. Just that mug moving on its own. I shut the zipper, hands shaking too hard to be quiet. The tapping stopped. Then a new sound. The whistle. 3 notes. Up, down, down. Right beside the tent. Hour 4. When the wind finally picked up, I felt relief. Real sound, real movement, leaves rattling, branches shifting, something normal returning to the world. But then I noticed it wasn't wind through trees, it was breathing, all around me, as though the forest itself exhaled, one long synchronized inhale and release. The trees creaked, but not like wood, like ribs. I pushed myself upright, staring at the tent wall, feeling the shape of branches pressing from the outside, but not bending the fabric. Just present. Too close. Too intentional. I whispered aloud without meaning to. Please go away. The forest answered. Not in words. No, that would have been easier. It answered with footsteps. Finally, footsteps. Circling the tent. Slow. Dragging. Uneven. Someone, or something, taking their time. Relishing it. Then they stopped at the entrance. The zipper moved. Just an inch. Just enough for cold air to slide in like fingers. I squeezed my eyes shut and didn't breathe. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds, or maybe forever. The zipper didn't move again. But I couldn't sleep after that. Just listened to the dark, waiting for morning. Hour 5. When light finally came, thin, gray, apologetic, I unzipped the tent fully and stumbled out. The mug was on the opposite side of camp now, 20 feet from where I'd left it. And there were footprints. Not boots, not shoes. Bare. Long. Toes stretched too far, like they'd been pulled. I packed everything in minutes. I didn't eat, didn't drink, just shoved gear into my pack and marched. But as I left the clearing, something changed. Sound came back. Birds, insects, leaves moving in wind that actually felt like wind now. The world had turned on again. I made it halfway down the slope when I heard it one last time. 3 notes. Up, down, down. The whistle. Not behind me, not ahead. Inside the trees themselves. A voice that didn't belong to lungs. Didn't belong to anything with blood or bone. I didn't look back. Not once. Even when the footsteps began pacing me from within the woods. Not beside me, not behind, not ahead, but parallel. Moving just out of sight. Never crashing through underbrush. Never disturbing a leaf. Just moving with me. I walked faster. They matched. I ran. They followed without running. No impact, no breath, only presence. When I finally reached my car, unlocked it with trembling hands and slammed the door, the forest went silent again. I turned the key. The engine struggled, coughed, died. I tried again. Nothing. Then I heard it. Not from outside, not from the trees, from the back seat. 3 notes. Up, down, down. I turned. There was nothing there, but the air had shape, a density, a watcher. I didn't wait, didn't turn the key again, just bolted out of the car and ran down the gravel road until signal returned and people returned and sound returned. I don't remember how I got home, only the fact that I did, mostly, because nights don't feel like nights anymore. Dark doesn't feel empty anymore. Wind doesn't feel like weather. Sometimes when the house is quiet and the world is tired, I hear it again. 3 notes. Up, down, down. And there's whispering. Not outside, not under the window, not through walls, but beside the bed. Waiting, breathing, learning the shape of me. The forest doesn't sleep. It just waits for you to come back. Story 2. I chose a ridge by the lake, a place other campers never pick because the slope makes the ground uneven and the path up is more animal trail than hiking route. That was the point. I didn't want company. I wanted the kind of silence you can taste. The kind that doesn't share space with any other human breath. I pitched my tent at dusk. The lake looked like glass, so still it didn't even pretend to ripple, and the trees around it leaned inward, like they were peering into their own reflection. No fish broke the surface, no insects hummed, a dead, perfect quiet. I cooked, ate, and listened, waiting for that forest chorus that always comes after sunset. It never came. Night arrived without a single sound. Hour 1. Around 10 p.m., when the cold settled into the fabric of the tent, I heard the first voice. Not a whisper, not a shout. Just my name, spoken plainly, clearly, right outside the nylon. Evan. Calm. Human. I sat up instantly, heart hammering, breath held on instinct. My light, full battery, tested earlier, refused to switch on. Dead like a stone, I didn't respond, didn't move. The voice came again. Evan. Not a question, not a call for help, a statement. I strained to hear footsteps, breathing, anything to help me place it. Nothing, no shift of leaves, no branch break, just stillness. Then finally, one more word. Open. A command, not a plea. I didn't. The voice didn't repeat itself, didn't knock, didn't try to unzip the tent, just stood there, silent, waiting. I lay back down, eyes wide, pretending sleep until exhaustion tricked me into it. Hour 2. Something moved in the lake. Not splashing, no. Dragging. Slow, heavy fluid displacement. Like a body being pulled through water by hands not its own. I unzipped the tent just enough to see the shoreline. The lake was pitch black, moonless, starless. But it wasn't empty. There were ripples forming, moving from the center outward, as if something had surfaced without sound. No gasp, no break, just appeared. And there, barely visible, was a head. Hair plastered to the skull, eyes reflecting nothing, watching my camp, not swimming toward me, not blinking, just watching. I closed the zipper slowly, careful not to make a sound, and then the voice came again, from behind the tent this time. Evan. Exactly the same tone. exactly the same distance, as if the lake figure and the voice were the same being, standing in two places at once. Hour 3. Thunder, but no rain. The kind of thunder that rolls right over your bones and sits in your stomach. I woke to it, shaking the ground slightly. Then I noticed something worse. The voice had moved inside my tent, not loud, not whispered, but right above me, so close its breath should have warmed my skin. Don't turn on the light. I didn't, because I couldn't. My flashlight, headlamp, phone, every device lay dead beside me, drained like time. The air inside the tent carried weight, shape, presence. I could hear breathing next to my face, steady, measured, not mine. I squeezed my eyes shut. The voice spoke again, gentle, almost kind. Pretend to sleep. So I did. I lay frozen, lungs barely working, heart barely contained. Minutes crawled, elastic and endless. Then, it stopped breathing. Not left, not moved. Just stopped. A silence so sudden it felt like falling. I don't remember sleep taking me. Only darkness swallowing consciousness like a tide. Hour 4. The zipper was open, not wide, just enough. 3 inches, like an eye half open. Cold air slid across the tent floor, hugging my ankles. Outside, something scraped the ground. Not claws, not tools. Fingers. Dragging across pine needles, slow and searching. I held my breath, because breathing suddenly felt like an invitation. The scraping circled the tent. Once. Twice. Then stopped at the open zipper gap. A new sound. A voice, but not from outside. From the lake again. Far. Distorted. Calling my name across water that shouldn't carry sound that clearly. Ivan. Drawn out this time. Almost melodic. And then behind me, inside the tent. Don't answer it. This voice wasn't the same as before. Lower, older, dry as bark. I nodded. Silent agreement. Silent terror. The scraping outside faded. The calling from the lake dissolved into wind that hadn't existed all night. Only the breathless presence inside remained. Hour 5 morning, or something pretending to be it. Light, but washed out, colorless, like dawn had been erased and redrawn by someone who didn't understand the sun. I stepped outside. The lake was smooth again, perfect, untouched, but the shoreline... Footprints, bare, wet, not leading to the tent, leading out of it. Something had exited while I slept. I wanted to pack immediately, to leave gear behind and run. But the voice, the inside voice, spoke again, this time from the tree line, behind me. Don't follow the footsteps. I turned, slow, deliberate. Nothing stood there. Not a figure, not an animal, just shadow, heavy, rooted, aware. I ignored the footprints, packed in shaking motions, and began the descent from the ridge. Birdsong returned. Wind rustled leaves. A squirrel dashed past. Life returned to the world in a blink, as though the night had never occurred. As though it had waited for me to leave. But halfway down the slope, from the lake far behind me, I heard it one last time. Evan. And closer. Too close. Beside my ear. Warm breath with no body attached. Don't look back. I didn't. Not when the trees began whispering my name. Not when footsteps matched my pace without sound. Not even when I reached my car and saw the zipper on my tent had been closed fully behind me, neatly, politely. As if whatever left expected me to return. Sometimes, late at night, in the hush between sleep and dream. I hear them again, 2 voices now. The lake one calling, Evan, and the forest one warning, don't answer. I don't know which voice belongs to safety, and which belongs to the thing I saw floating. But I know one truth. Camping alone doesn't mean alone. Not out there. Not anymore. Story 3. I wasn't supposed to camp past trail marker 41. Everyone who hikes that forest knows the rule. Stay within the numbered posts. If you pass marker 41, you won't see 42. Not because it isn't there, but because the forest won't let you. I ignored that. Not out of arrogance, not out of thrill-seeking. Just a simple backpack, a rolled tent, a map, and a head full of quiet. I went in to get away from people, to get away from sound, to get away from the constant need to answer the world. Silence heals, they say. They never mention what silence contains. Hour 1. The path that shouldn't be there. The trail was marked well enough until marker 39. After that, bark became carved symbols. Not numbers, not letters. Scratches like claws dragging truth out of wood. I stepped beyond marker 40, then 41, and then nothing. No marker 42, no post in the ground, no tie-off point. Just a space too quiet to be natural, I set camp anyway. The tent went up. The stove hissed to life with instant oatmeal and boiling water. I sat on a log and listened. No insects, no distant campers, no owls announcing territory, just the hush of a forest holding its breath. When darkness slid in, it didn't come slowly. It snapped, like someone pulled a curtain. Daylight, present. Light, gone. Hour 2, whistling in a place without wind. It began with a whistle, not tuneful, not human, just a single note drawn too long, like someone exhaling through teeth, refusing to stop. It came from deep in the trees, not right, not left, center, a direction the forest shouldn't have. I froze, spoon halfway to my mouth. The whistle cut off. Silence again, a silence that felt aware. My fireless camp, because fires are banned this deep, sat in that blank quiet. Tent behind me, bag at my feet, map on my knee, and the forest watched. I felt it, not imagined, not paranoiac, not alone. Hour 3, the voice that didn't speak. I crawled into the tent, leaving boots unlaced. Not tired, just wanting walls, even fragile nylon ones. Inside, I fumbled for my lantern. It refused to turn on. Not a flicker, not a dying glow. Just dead. I tried the headlamp. Dead. Phone. Dead. Then, in the absolute dark, I heard movement outside. Not footsteps. Dragging. Something drawn across needles and soil. A slow pull. The sound encircled the tent once. Twice. On the third pass, it stopped at the entrance. Breathing began. Not heavy. Not animal. Soft. Felt. Not heard. A presence leaning toward me from the other side of thin fabric. The zipper twitched. Not pulled. Just lifted and released. Lifted and released. Like fingers testing understanding. Then, a voice that wasn't a voice. No breath. No throat. Just shape in my mind. Forming words. You passed the last marker. I didn't reply. The forest didn't require me to. It already knew I knew. Hour 4. Time without hours. At some point, I slept without dreaming. I woke without memory. No moon, no stars. Just black. A black that wasn't empty. A black that contained. My tent walls bulged inward, not as if pressed, but observed. Like the dark itself leaned closer. Then came scratching, light at first, like pine needles blown by wind that wasn't blowing. Scratch. Scratch. Higher, against roof fabric now, as if whatever traced lines wanted to write something. A word repeated through texture and pressure. Leave not carved, not spoken, implied, insisted. I whispered, barely audible. I will, in the morning. The scratching stopped instantly. Agreement accepted. Hour 5. The shape on the perimeter. When false dawn came, gray, wrong, too still, I unzipped the tent. Fog swallowed everything. Not mist, not dew. Fog with weight, fog that held outlines inside it. Trees were shadows, ground was shadow, and something else was too. At the edge of the clearing stood a shape, humanoid but stretched, limbs too long, head tilted too steep, posture too still. It wasn't moving, it was remembering. Me. I packed silently. Tent collapsed, bag sealed, map folded. I didn't look back, even when the shape whispered, "Not that way." Calm, instructional, truthful. I froze. It pointed, an arm rising slow, angles unnatural, finger long enough to bend time. It gestured toward a direction where no trail existed, no markers existed, no reason existed. Then it lowered its arm and vanished into fog without stepping. Fog swallowed it, or it became fog. I walked where it pointed. Hour 6. The trail that didn't exist before grass flattened beneath my boots in a line that hadn't existed yesterday. Branches moved aside on their own, making space without sound, not wind, permission. A deer stood ahead, perfectly still, eyes white even in half light, staring into me, not at me. Then it opened its mouth, not to speak, to show what was inside. No teeth, no tongue, just endless dark throat. It closed its mouth and turned away, walking deeper into trees without bending them. I followed, not because I trusted it, but because nothing else in that forest offered direction. Hour 7. The marker. That lied there it was. Marker 42. A post too new, wood too unstained, numbers too precise. But I knew it wasn't real. You don't see 42, ever. The forest doesn't let you. Yet there it was, waiting. I reached out to touch the carved number. My fingertips met bark, then bark softened, sank, became flesh, pulse beneath touch. I yanked my hand back. The post exhaled. A voice, no lungs, no air, said, "Go back." I turned. Fog gone. Light normal. Trail visible. And behind me, Marker 41. As if nothing beyond it had ever existed. Exit. The forest watches departure. I walked out. No footsteps behind me. No dragging sound. No whistle. Only ordinary forest noise. Birds, insects, wind, returning like someone flipped a switch. At the parking lot, sun hit the world properly. Warmth, life, normal. I started the car. Engine purred. Perfect as always. But in the rearview mirror, in the tree line beyond the lot, a shape stood. Same tilt of head, same impossible limbs. Watching without movement. Mouth opened. No voice reached me. Just a silent shape of a word. Return. I drove. Miles passed under tires. Air changed. Civilization returned. But nights don't arrive correctly anymore. Stars sit wrong. Silence tastes different. And sometimes on roads without signs, I see the number 42 painted on guardrails, mile markers, door frames. Always neat. Always new. Always waiting. And the wind, when it dies completely, when the world turns mute. I hear it again. One long note. A whistle. Drawn too far. Held too long. Telling me the forest remembers. Telling me the trail isn't finished with me. Telling me the next time I won't stop at marker 41.